All right, I just got finished speaking to a class of medical students about getting into residency, becoming an anesthesiologist. I'm Dr. Hassan. I'm a board certified trauma anesthesiologist. And a lot of the questions during the question answer portion of the presentation revolved around how to become a successful anesthesia resident or an anesthesia applicant or an anesthesiologist. But one question in particular was about how do I stand out when I'm on rotations? How do I have a successful sub-I rotation? How do I succeed as a medical student in anesthesia or surgery? And what are the tips and tricks for being remembered during your medical school rotations? And I thought about it for a little bit and I gave my answer. And I think a lot of people will benefit from this answer. So if you're watching this video, please do me a quick favor, like, share, subscribe, do all the things before we get started. But that being said, when you are a medical student who's applying into a residency program, you have to understand your role in the process. You are not there, especially if you're applying, let's take, for example, let's say you're applying to general surgery and you want to become a plastic surgeon or whatever, and you want to get into a general surgery program that lets you become a plastic surgeon or a cancer surgeon or a liver surgeon or whatever type of surgeon you want to be. You have to ace your general surgery applications, but you also have to ace your general surgery sub-Is. What sub-Is, for those watching, are basically your sub-internships where you function as a pseudo-intern as a medical student. But that being said, understand your role as a medical student. You're not there to essentially make diagnoses. You're not there to show off your suturing skills. You're not necessarily there to, tell attending or a senior resident what they're doing wrong because you read some literature on something. You are there to make the life easier for that surgery resident, for that surgery intern, for that surgery chief. And so what you have to remember is that, number one, the chief residents at any sort of program are going to have an influential take or an influential opinion when it comes to choosing the next generation, the next round of residents and interns. So you really want to impress the chief, but you're not going to really have direct access to the chief. For the most part, your role where you can do the best is really when the interns and the residents come in the mornings and see their patients. If you can make their life easier in that short form or short amount of time, I'm not talking about necessarily coming up with diagnoses or changing medications, but for the most part, allowing them to formulate the opinions a lot faster. So doing a lot of the legwork and the research on the patients that are on your consensus or on your list for that day. So if you did surgery, let's say a bowel resection on a patient, Mr. Smith, the day before, a lot of the times the next day when you round on them after the surgery, a lot of the residents and a lot of the attendings want to know how's their bowel function, what their electrolytes are like, what was the flow through whatever anastomosis you made, what was their ins and outs. A lot of that legwork, that looking up the numbers, that research that a lot of interns are responsible for. If you can make the life easier for that intern by getting there 15, 20, 30 minutes earlier, getting all the numbers for all the patients and being able to report to, John or Jake or Smith or Mike, whoever, or Jane, whoever the resident or the intern is, telling them, hey, this was patient A. He had this, and this overnight. They had to change his medication because he had pain. This is Miss Smith. She had this, and this. Her hemoglobin dipped low. They had to replace it. This is Mr. Michael. He actually had his urine output decrease. His electrolytes have gone up or his creatinine has gone up. Whatever the legwork is, the research for the patients that day, making their day easier for the intern for that 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month that you're on that rotation will allow that intern or that resident to remember you over time and say, hey, when Jane was on this rotation, she made my life a lot easier because she did the legwork. She allowed me to come to the hospital 15 minutes later because I didn't have to run the labs or run the list ahead of time to be on target for my responsibilities as a resident. So if you understand what I'm saying is you don't necessarily have to impress them at the end of a surgery with how fast you suture or how well you bring together anastomosis or whatever it is. That's really not going to impact their day-to-day. Yes, they might be impressed by it, but it's not really going to stick in the back of their head that, oh, Jane was really good at doing box closure sutures. They're not going to use that as a criteria to add you to the program. But if you provide a service and you are an asset to the team while you are there, then when the residency interviews and the rounds come about, they're going to remember you and be like, Jane was actually a help. She was an asset to our group, to our team. She made our life easier. She got all the numbers. She followed up on all the patients. She was able to report back to me in real time or text me in the evening when something changed, even ahead before I knew about it, she knew about it. If you make their life easier there for the interns or for the residents, that will trickle up and make its way to the senior chiefs. Now, the other big thing you really want to do is try to make a connection with the chief residents. So it doesn't really matter what specialty you're going into. It doesn't matter if it's psychiatry, urology, if it's surgery, whatever it is, the chief residents usually have a thing that they're really big about, whether that's, cases being on time, whether that's labs being done or followed up on, or x-rays and MRIs being followed up on, or whatever it is that those chief residents really harp on. If you can be an asset in that environment for whatever it is, let's say it's in psychiatry and you have depressed patient who just got started on a new medication, and the chief resident really cares about the impact that the new medication makes on that patient. If you can do the legwork and say, hey, Mr. Smith, which we changed the medication on yesterday or 2 days ago or a week ago, is now showing improvement. He's eating better, he's walking better, he's doing exercise or his PTOT or whatever it is, his mood is better. And that was a direct result of the medications that we changed a week earlier. If you can put that together and package that and give it to your chief resident, they will remember that. They will remember Jane was an asset because she did the legwork that I didn't have to think about it. And once they can trust you, that will go miles, especially during your med school interviews for residency. So the take-home message here is try to remember your role as a medical student. It's not necessarily to impress with your knowledge base, or not necessarily to impress with your physical prowess inside of procedures. More than likely, if you want to be remembered and you want to get into the residency program that you are applying to, that you're doing a sub-I to, make sure you are an asset to their team. Make sure you bring value to their team, because that is what they're going to remember, because a lot of residents and a lot of physicians and a lot of attendings are maxed out and tired as it is day in and day out. Make their life a little bit easier. What do you guys think? Leave a comment below. If you really like this series, I'll do a lot more for interviews and that kind of thing. Just leave me a comment below and try to bring some attention to this channel. I love you guys. I will absolutely see you on the next one.